For those of us who really, really love Tesla and love Elon and are very excited by all the prospects of the future, we had a satisfying, if not crazy, historic day yesterday. Lots of good stuff to talk about, but there was, you know, plenty of reason why the stock is down 10% this morning and maybe likely to stay down for a while. My guess would be that the sum total of the damages might already be in today. That doesn't mean it won't go lower over the next week or so and then pop back up. But I wouldn't be at all surprised to see us stay under 250 until after the earnings call. And the earnings call could go one way or the other. And it's a little hard to tell where we might end up by the end of the year at this point because we didn't get any of the short-term catalysts that we needed yesterday. Lots of good stuff for the long term, lots of good stuff to talk about and think about for what's going to happen, as I've talked about over and over again. 2026 is the year it all comes together, and 2025 by mid-year we should be able to see, significant progress towards that to where the stock will be up substantially. But all of the hopes and dreams of us going to 300 right now, based on some specifics or based on some catalysts, based on some stuff that would impact the short term, we didn't get any of that yesterday. And that's why we're down today. Now, the Uber bulls and other folks like me that do this for a living, we're all pretty enthusiastic about what we saw yesterday. Let's talk a little bit about that. But there was, for one thing, I will say, yesterday, there was way more to talk about than in most of these events. It was a huge amount that took place there. I'm not going to be able to come close to covering that this morning. Not even going to try. So my first impression is that, there's going to be that the Robotaxi itself, the Cybercab, was, great looking. I mean, it's good. It's a good car. It's going to be fantastic. Thumbs up to the Cybercab. Thumbs up. It was kind of as expected in stainless steel, kind of expected in terms of shape, kind of expected as in gull wing doors or whatever kind of wing doors you want to call those, butterfly wings, kind of expected a two-seater. So it kind of met expectations. It did not blow away expectations, but it's a good job. It's a very excellent looking Cybercab, very futuristic looking, and that I think will settle well over the next few days. So one of the things that I was excited about, but the longer I looked, unfortunately, wasn't as good as I thought, is that the Optimi could talk. Yes, this was good. The Optimi, they had lots of Optimus there, and they walked around and they talked to people and they poured drinks and they played rock, paper, scissors, and they kind of mimicked and dealt with what other humans were doing as they talked to them. A lot of interaction with the crowd. But there was a lot of question as to whether and how much of this was being auto directed by humans nearby. In other words, that even their actions, their dancing, the dancing that was taking place. Now that might not have been auto directed, but there was the pouring of the beers or the pouring of the drinks and the interaction with the humans that were there might have all been auto-directed. For sure, I'm like 100%, well, okay, 98% sure that the conversations that were taking place with humans that were merely, listening and then responding through the robot. It did not sound in any way, shape, or form even like what you'd expect from a very good Chat GPT conversation. So no, I don't think this was real. But it showed intent. It showed the direction. It shows what Elon intends to do eventually is to have these things talking. That was good. There was also a 3D rendering, kind of a hologram type version of the new hand and arm. I think, and it was amazing. It was as dexterous as a human hand from all indications. So if that was, a realistic impression of what the new hand is going to be able to do, that was extremely impressive. Don't know, but it was, one more thing that they did show that was a very big positive. Optimus did appear overall to be much more capable. Movements were smoother, bit more at human speed. Not quite at human speed yet. It still befuddles me to know why it's going to take so much longer to actually get to commercial on these robots, but that is still nothing was said about that, by the way, at the show. Yeah, they didn't say anything about when, except I think Elon said it'll be a while before they're in homes, but he didn't say anything about, whether they're still planning, whether the plan is still as we know it, 2025 to be in the Tesla factories in numbers, 1,000 or more, and then in 2026 starting to go out to the public. Now, he did mention that they expect them to be under 30,000. That was mentioned again. I think he's talking about maybe 3 or 4 years from now when they're available for home use, they will be under 30,000. All right, now the star of the show, the Cybercab. I just talked about that very much as expected, but here was the big disappointment for me, or the missed opportunity. We didn't learn anything about the experience inside the vehicle other than it has really nice seats, plenty of room. You can play with the screen. There was no, there. There was no, okay, here's what's really going to make the experience exciting and fun. So that'll have to wait for another day. Again, Elon has mentioned the experience, and everybody's talking about how the experience needs to be really different, unique, fun. There was a lot said about in terms of the practicality. We'll talk about that in a minute. Elon also made clear that the Cybercab will be available for sale. That was an important feature, and it will be under 30,000. He believes in the range of 30,000. Many in the community think that this is a template, that this Cybercab that we saw is a template for the Model 2.5. I'm not so sure about that. Maybe a longer version, a 4-seater, 5-seater version could be what we're going to be seeing. Maybe it will be stainless steel like the Cybercab. It's possible. I have my doubts. Okay, we'll see what happens so on that. Partially because of the fact that it's supposed to be done on the Model 3, Model Y line, and I'm not sure that the stainless steel kind of sort of exoskeleton thing is designed very much to be able to go on that line. I don't know. So, but that's what some people are talking about. That's what I'm reporting. All right. Now, here's what AJ had to say. I thought this was good about the Cybercab in terms of the way to get the cost down. Overall, the vehicle shouts cost savings, he says, which is a great thing for investors. Everywhere you look, you see cost savings. Now, low cost doesn't mean cheap looking, but he says, except for a few important things. All right, so here's his list. He says, overall, very simple design, makes for low production cost, but highly aerodynamic. In fact, a very similarly shaped vehicle already exists, and he'll talk about that on some other day. No glass roof, the simple panel instead, so that's easier. Number 3, simple hood panel, high straight cut line for easy alignment and assembly. Number 4, first of the Tesla framed windows. It's a cheaper, easier to build frame window. The seals will last longer and it'll have acoustic benefits. Number 5, no rear window, saves a lot of components, lowers complexity, no glass, no cables, no labor for setting the glass pane, lots of savings there, and no glass window. Side windows, 1 pane. Sometimes that's broken into 2, but on this one it's not. So just that'll be simpler as well. Number 7, the rear comprises of a minimal number of components. 1 large panel, 1 light strip, and a second small panel, so that's much simpler. Number 8, very low cost seat design. No expensive stitching. It's possible the seat is not even motorized. Oh, okay. I don't know about that. I would think it would be motorized. Hopefully it is possible. It looks like a lever with a lever suggesting manual adjustment. However, it's possible this is due to just being a prototype. Number 9, small minimalist center console. You don't need a center console very much for, a Robotaxi. Number 10, very simple door panel design, no large number of different materials, no issues with seams, all that kind of stuff. 11, there's no small rear side window, even though it looks like one. The black glass looking piece is just decorative. Number 12, obviously, no steering wheel, no steering column, no steering assist motors, and no pedals. Number 13, Tesla, typical minimalist dashboard design, but with improved edge design. Surfaces connect, making it easy to create a perfect seam. He says these above observations are just from the outside. Logic dictates a similar design philosophy was applied under the hood as well. Overall, this makes the vehicle perfect for a mass market use case. It makes it very, very hard for any competitor to get in there without having to burn first billions or several years in order to be able to follow Tesla down this path. One more thing, of course, was the van. I'm no longer AJ, this is Randy. The exterior presentation was clearly intended to keep with the futuristic theme. It definitely looked futuristic. The interior is configurable, and that might be a really cool thing. You can set it up as a school bus. You can set it up as a city bus. You can set it up as a work van. You can set it up as, as a tourist van, all kinds of different ways to set it up. And it would be, I could definitely see schools, switching to this because I think it's going to be way less expensive than current school buses and way, of course, less expensive to operate. That would also be true for local, bus service, which, do we really like these huge, massive buses that we have now? Maybe we could get down to something smaller because it doesn't cost. There's no driver, so you don't have the cost per mile will be way less than current buses. The van will be a fine addition to the lineup, in my opinion, and it will contribute to the mission. I don't think it'll ever be a needle mover in terms of really, the overall stock price. There was a lot of disappointment for those that were hoping to see some way to make money on this event in the short term. No, that didn't happen. There was no hint of Juniper. There was no hint of the version 2.5. I mean, that doesn't mean they're off the table. That doesn't mean they won't come out as planned later this year and early next year, but no details at all. No details on the potential Robotaxi fleet business proposition. How does it work? How does it break down? We were all hoping for that. And just a hint, just a slight promise of a rollout in California and Texas in 2025 of the Robotaxi service. Now, some people are interpreting that as just the fact that it will be, 100% unsupervised FSD in 2025. No, I think that meant a Robotaxi fleet in 2025 in Texas and California. And he did say pending regulatory approval. I don't think they would have mentioned it unless they thought that regulatory approval would be possible. Anyway, as anyone who even visits my channel knows, I believe it all comes together in 2026, and I believe that we will see that it's coming together in 2026 by mid to maybe third quarter 2025. So, but the run up now, that's over. I don't see it. My year-end number probably goes, maybe if everything goes well between now and the end of the year. There is a couple of positive things in terms of the short term. We'll discuss those in a minute. But if things go well in the fourth quarter, we hit our 530,000. The first quarter is starting to look good. I think we could definitely get back into this range that we were in, around 265. I'll have to think about this a lot more before I make any real definitive decisions about what I think is going to happen. Like I was so right about the 1010 show. So anyway, will this historic, quote unquote, this historic day change the mind of the investing public that Tesla is now an AI company with a robotics emphasis? It will potentially move opinions in that direction. They could have done a much better job. They truly need to hire a much, much better team for future events if they want the event to capture the imagination of those beyond just the fans and those in attendance. I haven't talked to any of the folks that were in attendance yet. I'm guessing they had a great time. I'm thinking they had fun. I'm thinking that, based on some of their comments this morning on X, that they, are, more bullish than those of us who just watched the event. But the event from the outside, from folks just watching it, not at the event, and those that were not necessarily big time Uber optimists about Tesla, I think they would have been disappointed last night. I don't think it was well presented at all. In fact, there was some glitches in it that were hard to imagine that they could have the glitches after all the time they spent putting it together. Anyway, here's a life lesson too. Do not overhype future stuff. This is not a lesson that I've done particularly well in my lifetime, but it's something I would encourage you to do if there's still opportunities. If you're got a future event coming up, don't overhype it. Oh, under promise, over deliver. Again, not something I can tell you that I've done well, but something I can recommend. I had a conversation with a Tesla employee yesterday. He told me that the zero interest for 72 months is just what was needed to increase sales and to really increase the uptake on FSD. It is working like a dream. So now that is something that maybe is going to get us up to the numbers by the end of the year. This employee agreed with me 1,000% that the Cybertruck and the Juniper have absolutely Osborne the Model Y. 100%. The Model 3 is a killer car, as we discussed, and the Model Y just doesn't have those features and benefits. And so the Osborning effect taking place. And of course, folks that would be potential buyers of the Cybertruck that are sitting and waiting right now are people very, very often who would have been buying Model Ys now. Okay. I believe this 100%. I believe it was a big, also, I'll call it a mistake. I have no idea what goes on in the boardroom. I have no idea what goes in the, the C-suite in terms of these kinds of decisions. And the decisions might have been made on really smart grounds. But I do think it was an error. This employee also said that not having Apple CarPlay is a very big deal, although he doesn't think it ever ends up costing sales. But people that find out, even he says, as the car is being handed over on the delivery, people will go, well, how do I do Apple CarPlay? And they're disappointed that they can't. So that was interesting. All right, now this is Randy Kirk. Like, subscribe, notify. Later this morning, I have no idea. I know I got Larry tonight. I'm sure he'll have a lot of opinions about today. I'm not sure who I'm going to have midday. I'm going to work that out. I'm going to make a few phone calls, send out a few DMs. I'd love to get somebody who was actually at the event yesterday, but I don't know. A lot of those people will be traveling today. They're going to be on planes. And my day is also kind of truncated and difficult to manage. So there'll be something midday, and then definitely Larry later this afternoon. Okay, Patreon would always be nice. The producer price index for final demand was unchanged in September. Seasonally adjusted, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reported today final demand prices increased 0.2% in August and were unchanged in July. So we had unchanged 2% and then unchanged again. On an unadjusted basis, the index for final demand rose 1.8% for the 12 months ending in September, higher than what was expected. Within final demand in September, a 0.2% increase in the index for services offset a 0.2% decline in the prices for final demand goods. And this was basically oil related, okay? Because oil prices were down. A PPI measure that excludes volatile food and energy categories climbed 0.2% from the prior month and 2.8% from a year ago, higher than the street was expecting. So we now have the CPI and the PPI going in the wrong direction. Will the Fed still cut in November becomes a big question. Earnings are starting to come in. This is the beginning of earnings season. JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, BlackRock, all beat. So a good start to the earnings season. But the combination of the CPI, the PPI, the earnings information is creating a very, well, what was a mixed market, okay? Not as mixed anymore. All right, so we got some of that other additional information. Now the market is actually going up. Dow Jones up 321, NASDAQ up 75, S&P up 39, and Tesla was down 20, so it is moving towards the green, but has a long way to go, is still down 1763. But again, unsurprising, not surprising to me at all. Will it end up being that down, will it, move back up maybe to, the 225, 235 range? Yeah. And if not today, maybe next week. I'm not sure it's going to stay this beat down, but we'll see. I haven't been able to fully think through the impact yet. Apple is the only other one of the Magnificent Seven that is down. It's down only 18 cents. All the rest are up marginally here and there. And then the Cathie Woods are mixed this morning. But again, PayPal up good, but Square down. Look at that. So yeah, mixed. Mixed would be a good way of talking about the Cathie Woods. But again, the markets have decided to go up based on, I think those earnings probably is what's encouraging the market. Dow Jones 0.76%, NASDAQ 0.37, S&P 0.66, and of course Tesla down 7.6. All right, percent that is. Okay, let's look at what happened with bonds, which were up a little bit earlier. Let me take a look. We have got bonds, yes, up 0.6 of a basis point on the 10-year at 4.1. Man, I just hope it doesn't go any higher than this. This has got to be it. We got to stop at 4.1. We have got the 2-year down 2.9 basis points, so that's good at 3.972. We've got the 3-month down 1.3 basis point, but look at this, the 2-month up 3.9 basis points to 4.749. 4.749. Now that's only 65 basis points a difference now, and only 54 basis points on the 3 months. So both of those are collapsing, but most of the collapse is again because the 10-year is going up, not because the other ones are coming down that much. So anyway, yeah, there you go. Oil down a little tiny bit, 45, 47 on Texas and Brent. Now both 50 going down just a little more, but still we're talking about 75, 37 for Texas and 79 for Brent. So staying toward the high end of this kind of new range between 77 and 87. All right. Natural gas down a little bit, 0.64% at 2.66, a number we have seen many times before. We have gold up $30 this morning at 2,669. We've got silver up 1.55% at 31,727. It's a very strong number for silver. We've got copper up 1.13% at 4.476, but that's still a long way from being back to where it was pushing up against 5. The dollar is up against the yen and the euro, but it's very 0.45 against the yen, but just barely against the euro. We've got the Bitcoin this morning recovering a ton, up 2,235 at 61.8. And that is, of course, everything that we report on. So again, the rest of this morning, we'll be watching, we'll be talking to folks, we'll be seeing who might come on for a noon type show. Maybe it'll be Brian White, maybe it'll be Brian Wong. They weren't either one of them at the show, but they would be having more time to have sat back and thought about some specifics that they are experts in. Or we'll see if we can find anybody that was actually there yesterday to get the impression from inside the tent, so to speak. All right. And so one last look at Tesla, down just a little bit, back to 18 down. Okay, that's all I got for you right now. It's been great talking to you.